Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to another video from N7RBP YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about emergency communications when the fit hits the shan, so to speak, when the shizzy hits the fizzy, as Canadian prepper would say. When things are down, grid's down, and you need to have communications that are somewhat covert or actually covert with acquaintances, family members, and the like. What we're going to do is just cover a few angles where you may be able to legally communicate via ham radio without much attention. That's the name of the game. You want to keep the attention from listening ears down to a minimum if possible. So we're going to go into just a few different modes and let you tell you just exactly what you might be able to expect. So first of all, there's the digital modes. A lot of people don't have digital mode capabilities. Many do nowadays, but some don't. So right there, you're starting to eliminate some of the prying ears, some of the listeners, particularly the non-ham listeners who typically have scanners throughout the town that are listening for typical FM and AM signals. The digital modes are something that they just hear crazy noise on the frequency and they just go right past it. So some of the best not listened to digital modes are some of the old modes. Back in the packet days when the Cantronics, Cam Plus, and the PK Packrat and stuff, they had the old Pactor and G-Tor modes. Those are modes that a lot of people, even people that are today doing digital, are not real savvy about. Obviously, anybody who's got the equipment can listen in, but again, you're narrowing down, really narrowing down your listener base by some of these old digital modes. So Pactor, G-Tor, Thor, packet, even just the old packet, very simple packet communications. That is something that would bring down your listening audience if you're wanting to communicate. Also, with those modes, you want to try to pick a frequency that, of course, is within the legal ham bands, but kind of one's out of the ordinary. You know, a lot of people say, okay, if digital modes are right here in this lower end of the band, so what you might want to do is just pick a frequency above, a little above, where the typical Pactor or G-Tor or Thor is is listened to. So just pick a frequency that's just out of sync if you want a little more private communication. And speaking of frequencies, how about different bands? You can choose different bands. One of the least monitored ham radio bands is the 220 megahertz band. If you've got the 220 available to you, boy, that'd be just great. That would take your listening base way down. Then also, again, if you've got available to you, like these newer Icom 9700s, I've got one of those, and it's got 1.2 gig band in it. Very few people listening to the 1.2 gig band in our local area. You get into the metro areas, and it's going to be a little different story. You're obviously going to have more population base, so you're going to have more chance of people monitoring. But some of the digital modes on 1.2 gig, or just simply FM or Again, if you've got the 9700 Icom, they do D-Star on the D-Star digital mode right out of the box in the radio on 1.2 gigs. So try different bands, try frequencies that are out of the ordinary. Be a little inventive on where you want to communicate. And you might have a plan ahead of time for where you're going to meet on which frequencies so that you're not searching all over the place for your friends and neighbors and family. Obviously, that's a great idea. So another thing that you might consider, marine band radios are very available, particularly on the coast and where marine activity is typically happening. But the nice thing about marine band that makes it so private is if you get out of the coastal areas and out of the areas, large lakes and where boaters have and use the marine band, you get in the center of Kansas or Nebraska or any place like that, marine band radios are probably pretty rare. So marine band is another choice. That's one more that you can chalk up to low listener base. So there's a lot of things you can do here, guys. There's invention, or what do they say? Necessity is the mother of invention. So if you just use your imagination a little bit, go off frequency a little bit from where people are typically going to expect to hear you, use different bands. Another thing that I've mentioned in my videos in the past is the Icom 7100. It's a D-Star radio. It's an all-mode HF, 6 meters, 2 meters, 440. But the one thing that it does do that no other radios do, if you have a 7100, is it'll do D-Star digital mode on the HF bands, all the HF bands, and it's legal to do it. So very, 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 very private if you're doing D-Star on HF. I think there's only 2 or 3 radios, I don't even, maybe just 2 radios that I can think of right offhand that do D-Star, and that's on HF, and that's the 7100 and the Icom 9100. Keep in mind, though, that there are SDR radios out there with programs that allow monitors that are very, very deep into monitoring, into the hobby. They've got programs with their SDR radios that can decode just about any legal non-encrypted mode. So, but how many people in the population base, your own population base, are that knowledgeable to put something like that together? And if they are, what's the chances of them being blue meanies and coming after you? That's another thing that you're reducing your risk too. You've probably got these people who are very knowledgeable and very technical. Most of those people are pretty good people. But then again, you've got very knowledgeable and very, very technical and people who are hackers that are out to do hate and discontent and mayhem throughout the entire world. So you just can't let intelligence and being a nice guy be your total evaluation of the situation, because there are some bad people out there. So with that, guys, I want to keep this relatively short, but if you've got a need for emergency communications, particularly if you have somebody that you don't want to hear what's going on, then just use your imagination, use different bands, change frequencies. One more thing that you can do that just popped into my mind, you can split frequencies too. Splitting frequencies is a very easy thing to do with HF radios, and that kind of throws people off too. You can transmit on one one band and receive on another. You can transmit on one frequency and receive on another. So, given the fact that a listener may find you on your particular frequency or band, then they're only getting one side of the conversation. So that's another thing that you might consider. Anyhow, guys, hope this was interesting to you, and you might log it into your Fit Hits the Shan. Anyway, sorry it's been a while since I've posted a video. I'll try to get a few more out more regularly. And with that, have a great day. And 7RBP, we are QRT 73.